Dawn, it is officially prediction week here at PFF. We're putting out all of our predictions right now for the entire 2024 college football season, and we're going to do college football awards right now. So college football is kind of very different than the NFL. There's a lot of college football awards that they hand out every year. We're going to predict the winners of a lot of them right now. Not all of them. If you want to see all of our predictions, you can find them at pff.com in the article that we're posting for all, I believe, 23 awards that we predicted. We're going to do about 10 or 11 or 12 or something like that. It's about half of them that we're going to do right now, Dawn. The one we're going to start with is the Frank Broyles Award, which is given every year to the best assistant coach in college football. Dawn, who do you think is winning assistant coach of the year next year?
I'm going to take a guy that we talked a ton about last year down at Missouri, and that's their offensive coordinator, Kirby Moore. Look, the job he did coming over from Fresno State last year, he took a team that was 81st in offensive grade in 2022, moved them up to 14th in 2023. We saw a huge improvement from Brady Cook. We saw a huge breakout from Luther Burden III. And honestly, there was 61 nominees for this award last year, and somehow Kirby Moore wasn't even on the list of nominees, which to me is an absolute shame because he did a dynamite job down there at Missouri turning that offense around. They returned 8 starters on offense. They returned Brady Cook. They returned their top 5 receivers, including the best receiver in the country. I think Missouri's going to explode on offense this year, and Kirby Moore certainly is going to be a nominee, and I would make him the favorite for this award.
Love it. Well, one guy who actually was a nominee, not only was a nominee, Dalton, he was one of the 5 finalists for the award last year. That was Will Stein, my pick, the offensive coordinator from Oregon. They had the second most efficient offense in the country last year in terms of EPA per play, only behind LSU. And I think Oregon has the best offense in college football this year. You got the number 2 quarterback in the country in Dylan Gabriel. You have the best receiving core in college football. You have the 5th best offensive line in college football and the 7th best running back unit in college football. That offense is absolutely loaded, man. And the fact that your head coach at Oregon, Dan Lanning, is a defensive guy, Will Stein will get all of the credit for the offense next year. And I think right now, because they have the best offense in the country, in my opinion, I'm picking Will Stein to win the Frank Broyles Award for best assistant coach in college football. But now we're going to go over to the Home Depot Coach of the Year Award, Dawn, which is exactly what you would think it is. It's for the best coach in college football, best head coach in college football. Who are you going with for the best head coach next year?
So this award's generally gone to guys that have kind of burst onto the scene, taken an average or worse team from the year before and taken them a lot further than you think they would. Now, I've got one who's got really high expectations to win, but still coming off just a 7-6 season, and that's Mario Cristobal from Miami. Look, he got criticized a lot for some in-game management stuff last season, right? And I think a lot of Miami fans are a little uneasy about him, but if they put this all together with all the talent they've acquired this offseason, there's a lot of big-name talent, right? Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, Tyler Barron, just all of the guys they brought in the portal. Miami is expecting themselves to win the ACC and make the playoffs this year, and if they do it coming off a 7-6 season, I think he's a really good candidate to win this award.
Yeah, it's a great point you made at the top, Dawn. I really want people to understand here is that this award rarely goes to the coach of the best team. It usually goes to the coach of the team that exceeds expectations the most. I believe David Braun from Northwestern did it last year when everyone thought Northwestern would be one of the worst teams in the country. They went 8-5, and he won Coach of the Year. That is why I'm going with Brent Brennan here, the head coach for Arizona. I think Arizona, I believe we both think, they're going to win the Big 12 this upcoming season. Right now, Dalton, they have a preseason win total of 7.5, and they have the 7th best odds to win the Big 12. So really, I know they're number 21 in the AP poll, but not a lot of people are expecting Arizona to continue their success from last year and win this year because Brent Brennan's a brand new head coach there, right? Coming in from San Jose State. So I think in his first year at Arizona, he's winning the Big 12. He's going to exceed that win total by a lot. I think Brent Brennan will probably win that award if he does all of that. So that's why he's my pick for the Home Depot Coach of the Year award. All right, the next award that we're going to be doing, Dalton, is, let me find it right now, the Jim Thorpe Award, which is given to the best defensive back in college football, cornerback or safety. Who are you going with for the Thorpe Award?
There's a ton of good candidates for this award when you talk about guys like Benjamin Morrison and Will Johnson and even Dylan Thieneman, who I love at Purdue, but I have to go with the best safety in the country, and he's transferred to a great situation at Ohio State, and that's Caleb Downs. Look, took about 3 games for him to get used to college football last year, and then after week 3, he was the best safety in the country, and he goes to a primetime situation where he could just fly around to the football and pick up big numbers, man. Downs is the best safety in the country. He's so well-rounded. His instincts are beyond his years. Fully expect him to be a first-round pick in 2026, and I think he's going to take home this award for it, really in the spotlight for Ohio State all season.
Might have some rushing guards, too. Playing a little running back, apparently, for Ohio State this year. So we'll see about that. I'm going to go stay in the Big Ten for this one. I really thought about Benjamin Morrison because I think the ball production will be better than this guy, and I think the interceptions obviously play a big factor into this award. But I'm going to go with Will Johnson, the cornerback out of Michigan. I just think everyone kind of knows he's the best corner in college football right now, so he's a well-known commodity heading into the year. He had a 90.1 man coverage grade over the last 2 years. That's tied for the best in the country, and the only other one tied with him is Quinyon Mitchell, who was just a first-round pick this past NFL draft. Ideal size, ideal technique. Even though he battled injuries this past season, he still was a very, very good player. He locked down elite receivers. He did pretty well against Marvin Harrison Jr., did pretty well against Rome Odunze as well. Those are 2 top 10 picks in the NFL draft, right? So I think he's going to remind a lot of people of Pat Surtain. And I think that Will Johnson, because of the name recognition, everyone already knows who he is. He's the highest rated player in the EA College Football video game as well. Everyone knows who he is. He's going to be a lockdown player once again for Michigan. I'm going to pick him to win the Thorpe Award for the best DB in college football. Now we're going to the Butkus Award, Dalton, which is given out to the best linebacker in college football. Who are you going with for this award?
I went with a guy who's going to rack up the numbers, and he was the leading tackler in the country last year. I'll take it down to Iowa with Jay Higgins. 6th best overall grade in the FBS last season, tied for the Power 5 lead in coverage grade, added 17 pressures as a blitzer. It was like 140-something tackles. I can't even remember. It was a huge number. That was by far the lead. And a big-time linebacker on an elite defense still. Iowa's going to be in at least the top 10, if not top 5 of defenses again this season. He's going to rack up numbers. I think people are going to lean more towards the traditional numbers when it comes to this award. I'll take Jay Higgins from Iowa.
I don't hate that at all. I'm also going with another huge name here, and that's Harold Perkins, the linebacker out of LSU, our number 1 linebacker in college football heading into the year. He's going to add a lot of great stats as a pass rusher in terms of sacks and pressures. He's a really good player in coverage. He showed this past year as well. I think Harold Perkins is right now the best linebacker in college football, and I think, again, the name recognition is huge here. Everyone knows who Harold Perkins is. Jay Higgins is a superstar, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if he's got the same amount of, popularity, at least, that Harold Perkins has going into the year. So I'm going to go with Perkins right now. I do love the Jay Higgins pick for the Butkus Award. Let's go over to the Remington Award, Dawn. Given out to the best center in college football. We actually were lucky enough to help them put together the watch list for this award going into the year. So we got kind of a leg up on everyone else for predicting it, considering how much we were involved in that. But who are you going with for the best center in college football?
Yeah, I think this was one of the easier picks on this list, and I'm going to take it down to Alabama. Parker Brailsford coming over with Kalen DeBoer from Washington. He's the best center in the country. He's the best zone run blocker at any position in the country, and I think it's a huge asset for them to get him coming over. Look, Alabama struggled on the offensive line the last couple of years with especially a lot of mental mistakes, but I think Brailsford and DeBoer are going to fix a lot of that, and he's undersized, but he gets to play between 2 massive guards in Jaden Roberts and Tyler Booker. I think Brailsford's going to have another spectacular season. He's going to be on a lot of NFL radars despite being a little smaller than most centers.
So we're actually going to agree on this one. I have Parker Brailsford as well winning this award. Now I want to shout out another guy I really thought about for this. It is Jonah Monheim, the center at USC. Now he used to play tackle/guard at USC. Now he's moving to center full time, but he's been elite at both of those positions when he was playing for USC. Now he's moving to center. So I think he is going to have a big year. The only thing that worries me a little bit is Brailsford, obviously at Alabama, going up against some bigger defensive linemen that he's used to in the Pac-12. So it's a little bit of a difference there, but I agree with you. I'm going with Brailsford anyways to win this award. He is undersized, only 275 pounds, which is going to be a major talking point for his NFL draft evaluation. But even at that size, man, he is right now the best center, in our opinion, in college football. The best interior offensive lineman, for that matter, in college football as well. Let's go over to the Outland Trophy, which is given to the best interior lineman in college football. So, Dalton, this means they give it out to the offensive tackles, guards, I believe centers can win it, and defensive tackles can win this award as well, I believe. So, who are you going with for the best interior lineman in college football?
Some really good candidates on both sides of the ball for this, but I have to go with a guy who may just be the best football player in the country, and that's Mason Graham from Michigan. He dominated down the stretch last year, dominated during the season with a broken hand, currently the number 1 player on Trevor's big board. He's just the full package, man. Run D, pass rush. The only thing that can hold him back from winning awards like these is a lower snap count than maybe, say, a guy like Deion Walker who plays over 700 snaps. But if Graham gets a little bit better compliment, maybe something towards 600 snaps, the numbers are going to pop. The grades are going to pop. He's going to be a top 10 draft pick. And Mason Graham, not just the best lineman, he might be the best football player in the country.
Yeah, I have the same exact pick. By the way, interview that just dropped with Mason Graham, the number one player in the draft. Trevor Segman did the interview. It's on this channel right now. Go check it out. It's an awesome, awesome interview. Trevor did a great job with that one, so go check it out right now. I'd pick the same guy. I don't need to say anything else about him, and he's just a truly special player. I will shout out a couple other guys. I was thinking about this. Will Campbell, the left tackle at LSU. Calvin Banks Jr., the left tackle at Texas. And you mentioned him before, Deion Walker, the D tackle at Kentucky. I think those are some other guys that can really compete for this award, but I'm with you, man. Mason Graham, just offensive/defensive lineman. He's probably the best in the country right now. So Mason Graham, I'm also going with for the Outland Trophy. Once again, check out the interview with him because it was a fantastic, fantastic interview. Dalton, we're agreeing on pretty much all of these now, for at least the last few of them. And this one we're also going to agree on, the Mackey Award, which is given to the best tight end in college football.
Yeah, one more because the pick is too obvious, and we'll stay in Ann Arbor, right, with the Wolverines, and that's Colston Loveland. Man, I mean, just so clearly, to me, the best tight end in the country. Now, this race could be really, really open depending on guys that put up numbers. Mitchell Evans return to health. I think even Harold Fannin could put up big numbers down at Bowling Green again this year, but Colston Loveland's just a different talent than every other tight end in college football. I mean, you look at it, he's the fourth most valuable tight end in the country last season in a not very pass-heavy offense, right? And that's the one concern is how much volume and how many accurate balls he's going to get this year from whoever's playing quarterback. But he also was right there even with Brock Bowers in slot receiving grades. So he's so reliable. He's explosive. He moves different from every other tight end, and I think he's clearly the best tight end in the country.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. His movement ability is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going with him as well. I will shout out some other guys too. Mitchell Evans, the tight end from Notre Dame. I almost went with him for this award. In fact, I actually had him down as my original winner. Then I picked Colston Loveland after thinking about it for a little bit. But I would like Mitchell Evans a lot too, man, because I think he's a better quarterback situation, right, in Riley Leonard. I think he's clearly also the top option for Notre Dame, as Colston Loveland is as well. So I think he's put up big numbers for Notre Dame next year. The other guy I really was thinking about was Brant Kuithe, the Utah tight end. Hopefully he's fully healthy this year. But, man, when he is healthy and when he's out there and Cam Rising is healthy and out there, Rising loves targeting Brant Kuithe. So I think he could put up big, big numbers for Utah next year as one of the best receiving threats in the country. But I'm with you. I ultimately went with Colston Loveland, but I do think Mitchell Evans and Brant Kuithe were two guys that I really was thinking about for that award as well. Next up, Dalton, is the Biletnikoff Award, which is given to the best receiver in college football. Now, typically this goes to the best wide receiver, but also running backs like Ashton Ginty. He was a nominee, or at least on the watch list for this award. And tight ends are eligible for this award. So who are you going with, Dalton, for the best receiver in college football?
So I know we've kind of got a 1A and 1B when it comes to the two best receivers in college football, but I'm gonna be the devil's advocate and take the 1B here. I'm gonna go to Arizona with Tetsuo McMillan, 6'5" monster. Now he's getting Mike Evans comps from the scouting community, right? And look, he's just an immense downfield threat, right? The only two guys last year who had a better receiving grade on 10-plus yard targets were Xavier Legette and Malik Neighbors. He wins downfield. He's a better route runner for his size than you would think. He's got more after the catch ability than you would think. And he's, with Jacob Cowing especially gone, he is the guy for Arizona. I know there's some other guys who are kind of the best guy on a loaded crew. He had almost 1,400 yards last year. He could put up more than that this year. I'm going to take McMillan and his pre-existing chemistry with Noah Fafita down there in Arizona.
I really thought about it too, man. I ultimately went with the guy that we had as our number one receiver in college football. That is Luther Burden III from Arizona, but I think it's really a neck-and-neck race for the two of them right now. I think he's a special player. Obviously, he's got unbelievable ability after the catch. Had 725 yards after the catch this past season. That was third among all receivers in the country. 314 receiving yards after contact, which was fourth most in the country. Only dropped 4 of his 94 catchable targets, caught 56.5% of his contested targets as well, and ultimately was targeted on 33% of his snaps this year, which was the highest rate among Power 5 receivers. So even though Missouri has a really good receiving core outside of Burden, he still was getting the lion's share of the targets in that offense. And I think he's going to put up big, big numbers once again with Brady Cook coming back, Kirby Moore coming back, who we mentioned before as well. I think Luther Burden III, once again, will put up huge numbers and win the Biletnikoff Award next year. All right, Dawn, going to the Doak Walker Award right now, given to the best running back in college football. Who are we going with here?
I've got to go with our guy Max out at Boise State, and that's Ashton Jeanty. Look, and it's not just because we interviewed him. He's one of the best backs in the country. He's the best dual threat back in the country, and I don't think it's close. For him to be the only running back considered for the Bolitnikoff Award is incredible, and that's how good he is. He played receiver in high school, so he's got experience. He can line up outside. He had over 1,900 total yards last year, and he missed the better part of 3 games. Had he played a full season last year, he may have even won this award over Ollie Gordon with total yardage totals over 2,400. He's looking for 2,500 this year. He told us if he gets anywhere near that, I think he's going to win this award. But he's the best dual threat back in the country right now. If he carries Boise near or to a playoff spot, he's going to get huge spotlight. It's going to be because of him. I'll take Jeanty.
I actually had Jeanty originally as my winner, and I changed it last second. The one thing that scared me about him a little bit was that he plays in the Group of 5, and the last Group of 5 player to win this award was Luke Staley back in 2001 from BYU. So it's been a long time since the Group of 5 players won it, but I think Jeanty's got a great shot at doing it, man. I really was thinking about him for this award. I went with last year's winner. I went with the cop-out here. I went with Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon led the nation this past year with 1,732 rushing yards, had the second most rushing touchdowns at 21, second most yards after contact with 1,056. And the craziest thing about that, man, he only had 19 total carries in the first 3 games, which means he averaged nearly 150 yards per game in the last 11 games of the season, including a dud in the Big 12 title game against Texas. We only had like 30 yards in that game. So he really was amazing last year, man. Oklahoma State was only 103rd in the country in run blocking grade either. So he was doing a lot of it on his own as well. And you mentioned the receiving ability from Ashton Jeanty. He's not as good as Jeanty, but he's a really good receiver as well, man. 330 receiving yards last year, 3rd most by a Power 5 running back. So he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage last year. I think Ollie Gordon, once again, will be the bell cow of that offense. I mean, you already heard it before. I mean, yeah, he got arrested for the DUI, but their head coach was talking about, okay, yeah, Mike Gundy was saying, hey, our punishment for him is going to get 50 carries in the first game. It's like, okay, this guy's going to put up huge numbers. He's going to be the offense for Oklahoma State. And we've only had 3 other 2-time winners of the Doak Walker Award, and Jonathan Taylor, Darren McFadden, and Ricky Williams. I think Ollie Gordon joins them this year, man. I think he's going to put up huge numbers once again and win the Doak Walker Award for a second time this upcoming season. So, Dalton, we are skipping the Davey O'Brien Award, which is given to the best quarterback in college football, because that is our Heisman Trophy winner, which we'll get to at the very end. So let's go over to the Defensive Player of the Year Award, which is the Chuck Bednarik Award, the Bronco Nagurski Trophy. Who are you going with for the Defensive Player of the Year?
I'm sticking with a guy we already talked about because I think he's going to have a monster season up there at Michigan, and that's Mason Graham. Again, I think you could easily argue he's the best football player in the country. He's a dominant force inside, and I know Michigan likes to rotate their guys in and out of the defensive line, but if he gets to play 600-plus snaps, I think he's in for a Quinnen Williams type of season like his last year at Alabama. That's how good Mason Graham is. I'm having him sweeping this award, too, and just taking it home for Michigan.
I love that pick. I thought about him as well, but I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr., the edge defender out of Tennessee. I think, edge defenders obviously are going to put up probably better stats than most D tackles. Maybe not Mason Graham. Maybe he really has like a Quinnen Williams type season or Jalen Carter or whatever like that. Like maybe he could win this award. But Pierce, I think, man, is the best pass rusher in college football right now. He had the 3rd highest pressure rate in the country at 21.3%. 91.9 pass rushing grade, was 3rd among Power 5 edge defenders as well. He was the 4th most valuable Power 5 edge last year, according to our wins above average metric. I just think the pass rushing ability, the sacks, the pressures are all going to be there. He's playing the SEC as well. I think James Pierce Jr. will win the ultimate Defensive Player of the Year award. So I think Mason Graham might be a better football player than James Pierce Jr., but I think the fact that he plays edge defender rather than D tackle might give him the slight edge for this award. All right, Dalton, the final one everyone's been waiting for. The Heisman Trophy, given every year to the best player in college football. Who are you going with? Who is your Heisman pick?
This was a tough one because I know there's 2 pretty easy candidates here, and you've got the other one, but I'm going to go down to Georgia, and I'm going to take Carson Beck. I'm going to take the quarterback for what I think is the best team in the country. He was just so clean last year in his first year starting, the 5th best overall grade in the country, lightning quick decisions, one of the most accurate quarterbacks. He really he does almost no wrong, right? He had a kind of below average game against Alabama, but otherwise he just absolutely shredded the SEC last year. And again, I was most impressed when Brock Bowers missed a couple of games and Beck just stepped his game up. If he adds a few more big time throws to his profile, I think he could very easily win this award, especially if Georgia goes undefeated.
So I've been on this guy. My pick for this award is Dylan Gabriel from Oregon. But Dawn, the more I thought about it, I was like, man, I wish I wasn't so gung-ho about Dillon Gabriel, because I really think the more I thought, I was like, man, Beck's got a great chance. Because the one thing that scares me about Dillon Gabriel is if he loses the Big Ten title game, which we'll get into our predictions later, I think he will. Does he still win this award? Like, I think Beck's going to win the SEC this year, so like that might give him the slight edge over Gabriel. But I will stick with Dillon Gabriel. It's like a very close 50-50 battle for me between those two right now. I'm going Dillon Gabriel, though, to win this award. The new Oregon quarterback transferring in from Oklahoma. You got to remember, man, last year, Bo Nix was only a Pac-12 championship win away from winning this award. He was the betting favorite heading into conference title weekend. And when he lost to Washington and Michael Penix Jr., Jaden Daniels took over and ultimately won the award. I think that Dillon Gabriel can do it this upcoming season, man. I mentioned before, I think Oregon is the best offense in the country. I think he's going to be the leader of that offense. He perfectly fits the Bo Nix role in that offense. It's kind of the efficient point guard of this offense. He had a 91.9 grade this past season. Only Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix had a higher grade among FBS quarterbacks. And Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy, and Bo Nix was a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, man. So I think as a leader of the best offense in college football, he's going to have better numbers, I think, than Carson Beck. He might not win the conference title, which might ultimately be the deciding factor in this, but I think his numbers and the fact that Oregon's be a top 3 team in the country as well, I'm going Dillon Gabriel ultimately to win the Heisman Trophy. But that's what we got for our college football award predictions. Once again, check out the article at pff.com right now. For the other awards, we did all 23 of the awards that we can predict for you guys to check out. If you want to see the other ones, check it out in the article at pff.com. That's what we got for this year's award predictions. Let us know in the comments below what your award predictions are as well. And yeah, we've got many more prediction videos coming up for you guys very soon. Hey, thanks for watching the PFF College Football Show. Before I let you go, though, we have an unbelievable deal for you guys right now. If you use the code CFB25, you get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. We've got the 2024 College Football Preview Guide that you can find over at pff.com, featuring the best players in the country from all 70 Power 5 teams, plus 10 Group of 5 teams that have the best chance at making the college football playoff as well. You can also gain access to NCAA premium stats for historical games, teams, and player tracking dating all the way back to 2014, so the last decade or so of college football. All the stats you can hope for, you can find in PFF Premium as well. Also, you can be the GM of your favorite NFL team with our unbelievable mock draft simulator, where you can draft up to 7 rounds of players for your NFL team. And if you want to dominate your fantasy league, you could do that as well using the best fantasy tools on the planet. All of that and more with your PFF Plus annual subscription, which you can find for 25% off right now with the code you can find in the description. Or if you want to go to subscribe.pff.com and use the code CFB25 at checkout. Again, you get 25% off your PFF Plus subscription. This won't last forever, so make sure you take advantage of it right now.